Welcome to Just in the Kitchen with me, your host, Justine. Today we're going to make strawberry jam and we're going to can it. This is the greatest thing you can do. You get all those fresh strawberries, and these are Michigan strawberries, by the way. So you don't want to use regular strawberries, like the California. They tend to have a core in there, and when you make it, you get little white chunks into your jam that are not so good. I have tried with frozen strawberries before, and that's good, but I really like the Michigan strawberries. We're going to the ingredients. I have 2 pints of strawberries, 7 cups of sugar. I have a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, 7 tablespoons of pectin. Now I use the original pectin that I can find. They have some that are low sugar, no sugar. I just use the regular pectin. Then we have, what did I see it called? A knob of butter. It's 2 teaspoons of butter, and what you want with this is when you put all this stuff in, you are going to make sure that it will cut down on the foaming, because the foaming will start at top as it starts to boil. The sugar gets thicker and it starts to make a foam. You have to skim it off. This little bit of butter will keep you from having so much, if any at all. I did some last night and I used the butter. I didn't have to take off any foam, so that was really nice. And the butter, I don't see it in many recipes, but that is very important. And so maybe because it's an old recipe, they call it a knob of butter. I've never heard it called a knob. So right here are the strawberries. Now I want to tell you, when you clean your strawberries, you want to hull them. Most people just cut the top off and that's good for them, but you don't want to do that. You want to take your knife, go around the stem, hold your knife down, and see, you've got a nice little hollow insert, which will help get all the white in. You want to make sure all your green is done out of there, because the stems like to stick to everything. So you make sure that that is done. And I have another one here, but I've cleaned and hulled, not cut, hulled these strawberries. So you take them and you put a layer in there. And I use my biscuit maker. It cuts butter into biscuits, and I just go in there and I smush this up. I like a little bit on the larger chunks, because what happens is it cuts down. When you cut it down so small, you don't get nice little chunks of strawberry into your jam. And that's what I like. The difference between jam and jelly is jelly doesn't have bits of strawberry. You take this, you put water in it, you boil it, and then you strain it, and then I think you put a little water in it, just a little bit. And so then what you do is you strain it and you use the juice to make jelly. But I like fruit in mine. Usually if I make it with my mom, she can't have seeds, and a lot of people are not able to have seeds because of digestion problems. They can have the jelly. So it's like seedless jelly, seedless jam. So this is the best way to do it. You want to make sure to get them all squished. You can also take a potato masher and do this. I went and I bought all these strawberries. So if you're going to make this recipe and you want Michigan strawberries, you're going to have to go quickly. I went to Adam at my produce stand. He's the owner. It's I think www.colemansproduce.com. You can look there. You can also look on Facebook. He's out on Michigan Ave in Pittsfield, and I get my stuff for canning. If I do pickles, if I do green beans, I always go out to Adam's. And he was just about out of it. So strawberries had a short, they're only in season for like 2 to 3 weeks. Everybody eats all the strawberries, and we don't have any. So you're gonna have to, anytime it's a produce thing, cucumbers, and you wanna make pickles or green beans, things like that, you wanna be really careful about the season, because once it's gone, it's not like you're getting more from Michigan anyway. You can get them from California or Florida or wherever they put them in. So I've smushed all my strawberries, and I'm gonna add in my butter, my knob of butter. I'm adding in my pectin, and then I add in my lemon juice. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to turn this on. And you want it medium to low. And you're just going to stir until the butter melts and it starts to boil a little bit. And then you'll add in your sugar. These things are, you saw, what was it? 4 ingredients: sugar, strawberries, lemon juice, and pectin. Butter, 5. 5 ingredients. It's a slower process, so you're going to take it on a day that you have nothing to do, because you have to clean your jars. And I have a dishwasher, so I put them all in the jar, or I put all the jars in the dishwasher. I put the lids and everything, clean them, then they're sterilized and ready for use. Then you have to can it and clean them and then process them. We'll get to that later. Right now we're at the jam, but it's a nice day of when you have nothing to do, and then you have a sense of accomplishment. It's like having little babies. It's so cute. So you just want to make sure that this thing is acting up. You want to make sure that nothing sticks. So you're going to stir pretty frequently on your strawberries, because they will stick to the bottom, and nobody wants burned strawberry jam. If you burn it, throw them away, start all over again, because you will not get that flavor out. There's nothing to do once you've burned your strawberries. Strawberries are boiling, they're simmering. And what a simmer is, you can see it boiling, but then you can stir it back down. And so it's not what we call a rolling boil, and that will be important later. I'm going to add all the sugar in. Make sure you stir until all the sugar is dissolved, and then you're going to let it boil. You're going to bring it up to a boil, but as you're waiting for that, you are going to make sure that you keep stirring. Remember what I said, nobody wants burned strawberry jam. So you want to keep stirring, and all this sugar will make it burn easily. You want to turn it up to a medium high, like kind of more on the medium side than the high side, or as my Aunt Carol says, high side. She lived in Kentucky on the, so she was talking about something, and she's like, yeah, that's on the high side. And I'm like, high side? What is the high side? She's like, smart aleck, Ohio. So she was trying to say Ohio, but she called it high. So you want it on not the Ohio side, but you want it less on the Ohio side and more on the medium side. But you want to be bringing it up to a boil. This is going to take probably about 10 to 15 minutes, because you want it to boil to where you cannot stir the boil. It's called a rolling boil. What I was just telling you. You want to not be able to stir that boiling down. It's going to be like a witch's cauldron boil. All right, we are just going to be patiently waiting for our strawberries to boil, boil, boil. What do they say? A watch pot never boils. You know why they say that? Because when you put a cover on it, and in the old days they did not have glass covers, you put a cover on it, and every time you lifted it, you'd let the heat out and it wouldn't boil. So a watch pot never boils. I'll be right back when this starts boiling. We have a rolling boil, folks. Once it comes to a rolling boil that you can't stir down, time it for a minute. And then once the timer goes off, you can take it off, and it will be ready to put in your prepared jars. Oh, it smells so good. It looks like, one time I was in the store and they had these candles, and it had what looked like chunks of strawberries or chunks of blueberries, and this one had chunks of strawberries in it. And I opened it up, it smelled so good, like you could eat it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my jars out. Remember, I put them in the dishwasher, I turned it on, I washed them, I sanitized them, they're ready to go along with the rings, and I will just start prepping my jars, which means I will start filling my jars. We are going to start canning. So these are a half pint. They come skinnier and more cylindrical, or they come in these nice little pots with strawberries on it. Look, and cherries and grapes and maybe peaches. I don't know, they're very, very cute. I'm doing them for a wedding. We're going to put them in the baskets for everyone that are out of town guests. So we're going to put these along with some other things in a basket for them. And I've already made a bunch of them. This looks so ruby red, like a dark, dark ruby, just so gorgeous. And you can see it's getting a little thicker. You can see where it's starting to thicken and gel. Now, when you start canning, you're going to need some things. You're going to need jars, and there are specific jars for canning. So you want to make sure you get canning jars, not just regular jars, unless you're going to eat them right away. Then you can put it in those cute little regular jars, and that will be fine. Then you're going to need some canning supplies. Besides the jars, there are going to be the rings. The rings can be reused again, and then you're going to have lids. They have a rubber ring, and I'll show you those in a little bit when we start to put it on there. This is a funnel that sits very nicely into the jars. There's a smaller one, and then there's a larger for larger mouth. But usually the larger mouth are for pickles or things larger. I don't know, if you were canning peaches, it would be for peaches. So this is fine. Here, this is to grab your jars. I use it to put into the water, and I use them to take out of the water, especially that water is hot and they're hot. I can't, as tough as my fingers are, they're not tough enough. Here is to get bubbles out of the, if you have any bubbles in your jars, you don't want that. So this gets bubbles out of the jars. And also, if you don't know how high to fill it up, it measures. And so there is a quarter, there is a half, so it gives you, that's 1 inch, that's 3/4, so it's kind of a neat tool. Here is a magnet to get the lids out that go on top of here because I boil them, and it gets them out, and I wipe them off the bottom and I put it on. All these things come in a kit. Any store that has canning supplies will have these. All 4 of these things come together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start filling. And you could pour it into a big measuring cup or something, but I'm lazy, I don't want to do a lot of dishes. And so it needs a little bit more. And that's how full they are. Isn't that pretty? I'll show you another. I've filled all my jars. Now I'm using this tool to make sure there are no air bubbles in there. Otherwise you can get contamination, and you don't want that. I've got 2 left. No air bubbles. And they are still very hot. So no air bubbles. Then what you're going to do, here is you're going to make sure that it's all cleaned, the rim. And the reason you want to make sure of that is so you get a good seal on it. If you have something on the rim, you're not going to get a good seal. And again, you'll get contamination. It will not do what you need it to do. See, this tool has a little magnet. These are the ones that I was talking about. They make sure that it seals, and I'll show you. There's a piece of rubber right there, little rubber, and as you process it in the boiling water, it will seal to it, and you're getting a vacuum seal. Then the rings, you don't want to tighten, you want to do fingertip tight, meaning your fingertip goes on, and as tight as your fingertip can get, that's as tight as you want. You don't want to tighten down really, really hard. One of the things you want to make sure, you're going to check your jars To make sure there are no cracks, there's nothing wrong with it, you're going to check your rims, make sure that they're in good condition from year to year, no rust. If water sits on these, they will rust super fast. Here we are in the processing part of it. I have my water boiling, not a full boil, you want it a full boil, and once I put the lid on, it will boil. This is actually my soup pot. I don't have a canning pot, and I bought an insert for a canning pot thinking it would fit, and it didn't, so I had to like break it a little bit and kind of fix it, but it still sticks in there. So usually you would bring it out, put your jars in there, and lower it by the handles. Because I don't have that, I'm going to lower this way. And are my jars so cute? Aren't those like my little babies? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in there. And this keeps them from going right on the bottom. Now if you don't have, all you have is a stock pot or something, go ahead, just put a towel on the bottom, because I didn't always have the thing, the rack, and I would just put a towel on the bottom. It's going to kind of float up a little bit, but once you put your jars on there, it's fine. It's not sitting on the very bottom. You want to make sure when you do this that your water is about 1 inch over everything. Once it starts boiling, I will let it boil for 10 minutes. Then I will use my handy dandy trusty getter outer. I don't know, canning, who knows what it's called. It's my getter outer. To get them out, I'll set them out and I'll show you how they sound when they come out, because it makes they're loose. I'll show you when we get there. Now all we're waiting for is it to boil and to time it for 10 minutes. We are almost done with our jam. So I will see you in a few. It's been 10 minutes. Taking my jars out. You want to be very careful not to break them. And the reason everything is plastic on these things is so you're not scratching or any way damaging the jars. They're very sturdy, but you don't want to damage them. That's why the thing to get the bubbles out is plastic. Everything's plastic, just so it's a little extra careful. And I want to show you these. This one has some push in it. This one was processed yesterday. See how taut it is? There's no pushing on that, no popping sound, no anything. You will know that it's done. You will hear popping. You'll hear this sound. And you'll know, oh, they're popping, they're sealing. That lets you know they're sealing. If they don't seal, you want to eat them. Put them in your refrigerator and eat them within 2 weeks. That is as easy as it gets. They're so easy, but they're time consuming. It's not a hard thing, it's just a timely thing. The process to boil isn't hard, the process to make the jam isn't hard. It's not hard. It's just, it's gonna take you some, oh, did you hear that? Ah, I got one. Which one was it? Oh, two. I love the sound of that. It's like, it's my accomplishment. It's my final song. Anyway, I hope you will try these and you will enjoy them. They are great for gifts. They're great. You can hold them for a year and a half, 18 months. And they're good to give at Christmas time for teachers' presents. Instead of going and getting them just something quick from the store, these are great teachers' gifts. It's something that you made. And if you have children, they can help you. And it's something you guys made together. I hope you enjoy this. Remember, in the bottom there will be a little circle, and it will be to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go to my website, www.justinthekitchen.com, for all the directions and the recipe. And then also go to, you can find me on Facebook at justinthekitchen.com. But remember, like, share, and subscribe to all your friends. I know that some of you are reading. I want comments. I want to hear what you think about these recipes. Or if there's anything that you want, let me know. I want to hear your comments. So I look forward to the next time. I think I'll be making a strawberry cake since we're on the strawberry series. And the next one will be a strawberry cake. Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.